So President Obama is expected tomorrow night in his yearly State of the Union to address taxes. He has a pretty all-encompassing tax proposal plan. Some taxes going up, some taxes going down. We're going to show you some of the details. Now, understand it's possible that they'll change by the time of that big speech, but it's important for us to talk about them now, understand the likelihood of passage, and what effect they would actually have on the country. So first, let's talk about some of the tax increases. Under the plan, the capital gains tax for couples with income over half of $1 million per year would be raised from its current level of 23.8% up to 28%. The plan would also strip a tax break known as a step-up that allows heirs to avoid capital gains taxes on large inheritances. And so basically right now, when you cash in stocks and bonds and things like that, the price of what it is what you get taxed on. But when you inherit it, they no longer care about how much of an increase it had from when it was originally bought. They're now going to change that, and so there would be significantly more taxes, assuming that the stocks or bonds or whatever you're inheriting had gone up in value.
Whatever the same capital gains rate as if the living
as if
person,
you had purchased it.
As the living person.
Exactly.
Right, yeah.
And so that's why it's considered a loophole, is because that it wasn't really designed to operate the way it has
Also caused a lot of
now.
people to kill their parents. It's a true story.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh, well, then they'll appreciate this. It'll protect them. In addition, the plan would institute a new tax on the biggest financial institutions, basing the fee on liabilities in order to discourage risky borrowing. The administration says the fee would hit the roughly 100 banks that have assets of $50 billion or more. And so, in effect, it would institute a 0.07% tax on additional borrowing by banks. They're trying to get some of the biggest banks to do less of that borrowing that they would then turn into risky.
The risky borrowing, yeah.
Exactly. So they're trying to dissuade them from doing that while not providing any sort of negative impact on smaller banks that are not engaging in that sort of behavior. In addition, the president's plan would use revenues from these tax code changes to finance credits aimed at the middle class. That includes extending the earned income tax credits to families without children, which would benefit an estimated 13 million low-income workers, while also tripling the maximum tax credits for child care in low and middle-income homes. And in addition, for households that have 2 working adults, it would provide additional tax credits for those as long as their combined income was lower than, I believe, $120,000. So in effect, they're raising taxes on some of the richest individuals on things like capital gains, on the banks, but then providing new tax breaks and incentives for those in the middle class. Seems reasonable.
I mean, it's not just reasonable, it's sound economic policy. It makes complete sense. It's what a responsible country does. These are restoring most of these to levels where they have been before, at times when the country thrived, not necessarily the breaks then. But we're always looking to give breaks to, you're not going to give a break to a working family making under, I don't know, I'm making the number up, $60,000 a year with 2 or 3 kids? Yeah, of course. You want to.
Yeah.
If you
or
give them,
extending things like the earned income tax credit.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Giving them a break.
Which would go away in 2017 currently.
So all of this is reasonable. All of this is responsible. All of this is long overdue. Fox is going to tell you that because it has no chance of passage, that the president is just playing politics. All these guys do is play politics. That's what they're doing. What I'm grateful for is that, yeah, he's playing politics. It has no chance of passing. There's no chance of passing right now. But this is how you change the debate. You take the most powerful man in the world and you give him the bully pulpit and you make this claim. This is something that every single person who works here and progressives around the country wanted him to do in 2009 and 10 and 11 and 12 and 13 and 14. David Sirota, who can suck the fun out of anything while being one
but does a lot of amazing work.
I was saying, while being one of the
good investigative journalist.
Oh, great. One of the smartest guys working today. I mean, you should follow and read David Sirota.
Yeah.
Just sometimes kind of a downer.
Real life is a downer.
But he points out that where was this proposal when the president had 60 Democratic senators and a majority in the House? And it's a totally fair point to make. Where he was afraid to make this. Very fearful and acting like the Barack Obama that was around for the first 4 years in office. Terrified of what people would say, terrified thinking he could make a grand bargain when he didn't need to make a grand bargain.
And by the way, different economic times back then.
Totally different economic times, although this still would have been useful. We needed money.
Oh, it would have been great, but it would have been even harder, I think, to make the case in terms of where the country was at in terms of its economy.
Yeah, but we had no money. We were out of money.
Yeah.
And we were fighting wars, and this is what you do. You raise revenue. I mean, the fact that you even asked that question just shows how insane everything is. I mean, we needed to raise revenue when we were fighting 2 wars. But it wouldn't have passed then, because even though there were 60 Democratic senators, it's inconceivable that the Republicans wouldn't have been able to peel, their choice of the Ben Nelson et al., who would have been happy to block this, eager to block it, Evan Bayh, all these guys who are now thankfully gone, Mark Pryor, Mary Landrieu. So the issue, though, I think he should have done it then, too, because you change the conversation. You make Republicans play defense on economic issues that matter. These issues matter, and they're going to matter in 2016, and I'm thrilled that we're going to start having a conversation about these things. I talk about it every day.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I would talk. I'm not saying I talk about it, but if I were running for office, I would make this the argument that not a war on women, tax equity.
Or both. Yeah, you don't just move the goalposts by the things that you pass. You move by the things that are being debated nationwide. And one of our biggest criticisms every day of Obama is that he goes into negotiations already having compromised. Like, his starting position is where he should have been willing to maybe end up and it would have been okay. But then you still end up having to compromise more. Yes, perhaps this won't pass right now because the Republicans are insane. And even though it does provide tax cuts for people who arguably need it more, their ideology rests on the idea that it is never okay to raise taxes on the richest individuals or corporations, because those are the best individuals and the best corporations, and why would you punish them for doing what everyone should be doing?
And just very quickly, before you throw to the video, in 10 seconds, these all aren't raising taxes. Capital gains used to be much higher. These are about jiggering numbers that have moved up and down throughout American history.
To numbers where they were at when Reagan finished his presidency.
And when the economy
Reagan was okay with these rates.
When things were thriving. These are playing around the edges, and you're about to hear clips where they talk about income redistribution. We always redistribute income. It's just whether we redistribute this much or this much or this much. That's the debate. And don't let them lie and tell you otherwise.
Yeah, and it's not redistributing it to ISIS. It's redistributing it probably to you. You watching it are much more likely to be benefited
I would
by
be
this
against redistributing income to ISIS. Call me anti-Muslim, but I am against that.
You're playing politics. Okay, so let's roll this Fox clip and see, even before the proposal has been given, what Fox thinks about it.
That is a petty political game. This won't pass through the Congress. And the deeper irony is the president says this is needed in order to combat income inequality and stagnant middle-class wages, both of which have become profoundly worse during his presidency for the past 6.5 years. So the idea that taking money from a tiny group of people, filtering it through Washington, enriching bureaucrats there, where I live, I see it every day, and then giving it to people in the form of ineffective welfare is going to make the country stronger. What people need are legitimate private sector jobs that pay living wages. That's how people get dignity. It's how they pay their bills. And this does nothing to increase that.
And critics would say, if you want to talk about games, the president is the one playing the game because it's not going to pass anyway, and it's just designed to enrage Republicans.
It's not playing politics if you propose something that's unlikely to pass, but that would be good for the country and you genuinely want to pass. If you put something up knowing it's not going to pass and you wouldn't even really want it, you're just doing it to start a debate or something, that's playing politics. This would be good for America. Obama does want it to pass. The Democrats and many Americans want it to pass. It's not politics. Something is not determined. Something is not playing politics just because the Republicans have decided that nothing whatsoever can pass.
Yeah, should you never talk about anything if the other side doesn't want to do it ever?
Yeah.
Also, I'm going to disagree with you because I don't know whether he really wants it to pass, and I think he is playing politics. And enough with that expression. He's playing politics.
He's also a politician.
He's the biggest politician, and he should use that politician to punch you guys in the face again and again and again and again until you back up.
Yeah.
That's how you go. That's how you advance. And at some point, on January 20th, 2017, there's going to be another president. And if we have spent the better part of 2 years debating tax equity and tax fairness in the code to where we do something to shrink the giant income disparity right now between the richest Americans and the poorest Americans, well, then that is getting something done, whether it happens under his presidency or whether it happens under the Clinton presidency, which I got news for you guys. It's coming. So, no, he is playing politics, and for a rare moment, he might be playing politics effectively. Knowing him, by Wednesday,
Yeah.
you know.
I do think it's funny when they say playing politics. It's not like It's not like your baristas
Also,
playing
you made a
politics or
great point
something.
before the show. I mean, these Tucker Carlson, who sleeps with that guy? Oh, I'm so sorry. I am so sorry.
I can
for
only
whatever,
vouch for myself. I haven't.
Whatever man or woman sleeps with that guy, it must be horrible. You imagine him as a satisfying lover?
I've tried.
Come on, man.
I've tried. I'm not that creative, apparently.
So
He gave it his all, though.
but like, so as he sits there, and you, this is your point. I'm stealing it. You said that they're talking about playing politics, right? I mean, she said it, but then he's like, yeah. I mean, 40 times, more than 40 times, the Republicans passed a bill to repeal Obamacare, knowing full well it had zero chance of passing.
Yeah.
Was that playing politics? Yes, of course it was. It was silly. They should have been called out for it. But I mean,
Thankfully we did.
on some level, what they were trying to do was keep Obamacare in the news as something that their party was against. That's effective politics. They went too far and it made them look silly. But I get why they did that. I didn't actually think that, since that was all they did, it became easy to make fun of.
Yes.
But that by itself is what you do when you oppose a policy. 40 times becomes a little silly. Also, Obamacare helps struggling Americans. And what the Republicans don't want to do is help struggling Americans. They don't want to help them. They don't want them to vote. They're not interested in them participating in the process. That's a fact. That's been proven since 1974 by Paul Weyrich. That's what we know they want to do. That's why they're repressing voters in North Carolina and across the South to keep black voters from voting. They don't want them to vote. They don't want to help them. Not just black voters, poor voters. They don't want them involved in the system. That's the plan. That's the idea. That's why they don't like Obamacare. That's why they don't like this redistribution of wealth, which is what it is. It's what we've always done in this country since we started. That's what governments do.